Nice. Well, any requests since you got here first and you're like the only ones here so far?
Yeah, we heard
Favorite
personal
Brith
Sabbath
Kodesh?
services.
What Brith Kodesh melodies we need to try? Or
Nice. Bring it on.
We're open to new
okay,
things.
that's great. Well, we're outside, but if anybody inside has a set of candles to light, we can bless them with you. There's probably enough fire happening outside in Colorado that we don't need to add more.
Yes.
I'm looking at the sun setting over Bergen Peak. There you go, Judith. Perfect. Chama merosh, ailanot nistalka. The sun on the treetops is no longer seen. Come gather to welcome the Sabbath. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed. And with her the angels of peace and of rest. I think this prayer is on page 10. Draw near, O Queen abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Does that look right? Peace be unto you, all you angels of peace. Boi, boi, hamalka. Boi, boi, hakala. Peace be unto you. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashem. And on page 4 and 5, we'll sing a blessing to help Mort and Judith light their Shabbos candles. And as we kindle these flames, may we hope that the flames that are burning a little out of control and in places where we don't want them find extinguishment. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Grant us all a chance to truly rest on this Sabbath, on this Shabbat. Thank you, Judith. Beautiful. Welcoming messengers of peace. Shalom Aleichem, page 13. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malchei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nile Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Amlachim Akadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Amlachim Akadosh Baruch Hu. Yallai, yallai, lai, lai, yallai, la, lai, la, la, lai, yallai, lai, la, 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 lai, 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 yai, la, la, lai, lai, la, la, lai, yai, lai, 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 yallai, lai, 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 yallai, lai, lai, yallai, lai, yallai, lai, 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 yallai, yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yallai, lai, yai, lai, lai, yai, lai, 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 lai. So if there were angels coming to visit us, what would we ask from them as a blessing, right? What blessings would we want to receive this Shabbat? So in this week, the second of 7 weeks following Tisha B'Av, this day of intense mourning in the Jewish holiday cycle. So one of the things we might ask for is consolation, renewal of hope and life in the wake of remembering past tragedies and traumas for us individually and collectively. And also, we have our own traumas and challenges in addition to a global pandemic and that we are wrestling with in our own time. So getting us in the course of 7 weeks to begin a new year together, what would we hope for from as a blessing we could receive from one another as messengers of peace? What are you hoping to receive this Shabbat? It's a
Rain.
rain. We could use some rain, some moisture,
Less polarization.
Civility.
less polarization. And what was that?
Civility.
Civility? Yeah, civility, exactly. There's a wild animal I can hear. Can you hear it over here? Asking for something. I'm trying to translate it, but I don't know what it would be. We've had a particularly eventful week. On Tuesday we had 4 bears and a bobcat come and walk right behind where you're sitting right now.
Bears were up.
I'm keeping an eye out for you, so you're okay sitting where you are. Well, welcome, friends. Thank you for joining me outside. And for those of you inside, may you feel the invitation to be with us outside and to be with one another in your homes and hearts. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabala, page 41. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabala, yadadai. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shambu v'zachor dibur echad, hishmianu el hameyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'Shem u'tziferet v'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela, yadadai. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yadadai, yadadai, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Page 43. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem besocha, sof maaseh b'makshvat techila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela, yadadai. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Page 47. Tifrotzi et Adonai taritzi, al yavish ben batzi v'nismecha v'nagila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela, yadadai. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. All right, let's rise and we'll stand to greet the Sabbath bride. Oi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi kala, lecha dodi likrat kala, yadadai, yadadai, pnei Shabbat nekabela, yadadai. Lecha dodi likrat, yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. All right. So we're invited to offer a psalm for Shabbat, even here at the onset of Shabbat, before we really get going, before we start the prayers before the Shema. So Psalm 92 on page 48 and 49 starts with the words, Tov lehodot l'Adonai. It is good to be grateful, to be thankful, to give thanks to the One. Uzamer l'shimcha elyon, and to sing out. So sometimes it's hard to find things to be grateful for, and the practice of Shabbat is setting aside time to offer thanks and gratitude to one another, to for the day-to-day things and for special things that are happening. So as we gear up for the service, I want you to maybe to collect something from this past week that we can share out of gratitude, sharing our blessings with one another, the blessings we encounter, as a way to start to combat all the bad news we hear all week long, right? And to sort of echo one another's blessings with an amen. So I'm going to try that ritual in a little bit. But first, on page 51, at the bottom of the page, the last few verses of this psalm for Shabbat invokes the image of trees, cedars, sprouting forth in old age, and palm trees sending forth their honey and sweetness. Tzadik katamar yifrach keres balvanon iske shetulim beveit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvun Besevan Deshenim Verananim Iu Lehagin Ki Yashar Adonai Tzori Velo Avlatabo. We invoke this image of the cedars of Lebanon as a sign of renewal and beauty. We can think and offer prayers for the people of Beirut and the rebuilding task and grieving task that they face before them. May they find a way to rest on this Shabbat. So on page 57 is a call to service. So before we stand and offer the words of the traditional prayer, I want to invite folks to unmute online or here with me here to share a highlight, a blessing that we can echo together. It's a blessing they'd like to share from this past week, maybe a highlight or a...
I'll offer one.
Steve.
Alice and I moved here from Rochester about 2 months ago, joined the congregation this week, and leaving Rochester, we came to this area because we had no family in Rochester, but we did have a strong Jewish community, so it was very incomplete. Being here, we do have family. Joining the congregation really is a blessing of completeness for me that I appreciate a lot.
Wonderful. Thank you. So for those who may not be able to hear, Steve and Alice have moved from Rochester, from my hometown, in the last 2 months and come to find family, community, and welcoming greeting.
My blessing is having my son here with me on Shabbat.
One more time, Guy?
My blessing is having my son here with me for Shabbat.
That's very nice. Hi, Lennon. Shabbat Shalom. Uniting generations. Great to see you. Ayelet, Claudia.
Yes. This whole week I Zoomed the North American Jewish Choral Festival. That's usually held, it was the 31st year and the first year on Zoom so that I could attend it. And it was so joyous. The music, all of the music came from prior years. but the cantors that spoke and it was just a wonderful way to spend the week.
Nice. Thank you. Amen. Let's hear Amen.
Amazing.
Anyone else? A highlight, a blessing to share?
I think the highlight was seeing the bear cub family walk right through here, and just the little. It was phenomenal. It was like it was a show for about 15 minutes, and then the mama came around too, made sure we closed the door back up, and I wasn't fortunate enough to see the bobcat.
I'm sharing pictures of what Dan is describing of 3 bear cubs up in a tree walking here across the back of the synagogue. And so this was a highlight as well from this week. Anyone else? There's the mama bear. I like this picture with the menorah reflected on the bear's head. And there's the bobcat. It came later
Oh
that
my
evening.
goodness.
Hello, Lori. Shabbat shalom. Well, as we bless the source of life and share these blessings, we're all receive the blessings. Let's rise in our hybrid minyan together for the Baruch Hu, page 57. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And the blessing gives us peace and makes our vision clear. And the blessing gives us life and the courage to dare. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamivorach. And together. Baruch Adonai Hamivorach Eolam Vaed. You may be seated. The next page, a blessing for the cycles of nature. So I'll offer, just read the Hebrew nice and slowly. If you're outside, you can enjoy this cycle, this time of day, this moment in time in the season of shift. And inside, you can join me or check out the English. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma potech sharim, uvidvuna mishanei itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem, arakia kirtsono. Amazed at the symmetry and order in nature. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, vechoshech mipnei or. Light giving way to darkness, and darkness giving way to light. Umavir yom, umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla, Adonai tzevaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim. Last stanza of page 61, leading into the Shema collectively. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 65. El Melech Ne'eman. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kibod Malchut. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. From Mordecai Kaplan, a definition of God. God is the assumption that there is enough in the world to meet our needs, but not to meet our greed for power and pleasure. Adonai Elohechem Emet. In just an hour or so ago, we had a conversation with a genealogist, a Jewish genealogist, giving us some pointers and also some history lessons on the richness and value that can come from doing our genealogy, tracing our roots. I mentioned that a person met me for the first time, came to a synagogue for the first time this week, finding out that his mother was Jewish and doing a DNA test. And one of the things we spoke about in terms of the power of having that kind of discovery or discovery further back in your genealogical line is really getting an immediate taste of the span of time, and to put what we're wrestling with now in our own time, in our own lifetimes, in our own decade or election cycle, in a broader context, right? To be able to see a course of a journey that really is moving in ways that we can celebrate, moving from oppression to freedom, moving from scarcity to bounty, in the bigger picture. So each service after we do the Shema, we're invited to go back before the Shema happened, before Sinai and the Torah happened, to the Exodus from Egypt and tap into that series, the first perhaps of many of redemptions, of coming forth from a place of constraint and difficulty to expansiveness. So we sing that song every service, Mi Chamocha. We repeat the words of triumph with which our ancestors gave thanks for their deliverance, page 79. Ya Elai, 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 Ya Elai, Elai, Mi chamocha, Mi chamocha, Bailim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, Mi chamocha, Bailim Adonai, Mi kamocha nedar bakodesh. Nora tehilot ose fele. Nora tehilot ose fele. Osefele, the maker of wonder, the maker of miracles. But actually, if you spell it a little differently but pronounce it exactly the same way, we are all makers of Pele, of wonder, of amazement. And perhaps that's one of the purposes of Shabbat, is to reclaim that power, to reclaim, to see with eyes remade for wonder, to quote Abraham Joshua Heschel. כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Page 80 and 81. So the news this week around Israel and the prospect for diplomatic relations with the United Arab Emirates. Hopefully one small but significant step, and we've not seen one for a while, towards peace in the Middle East and for Israel and its neighbors. And we sing, Ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha, spread over us, over all of us here, over all of us around the world and over Jerusalem, as a symbol of peace for everyone, a sukkah, canopy of peace that has openness to create relations with its neighbors of all stripes. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat shelomecha, baruch atah Adonai Hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. So then we are invited to take a moment of quiet, of silence, of stillness, to connect to our ancestors and to connect within. And this week, this month, at Beth Evergreen, each month we take on a different midah, a quality of character, and we've been talking about and not talking about silence and the guarding our tongue and ethics of speech. So we'll invite a few moments of just quiet, of stillness, and not hearing me talk and me not talking. And then I'll bring us together again in a few moments with the melody about watching our tongues and being mindful of speech and its power, both for incredible wisdom and comfort and the power to cause great harm. Elohai nitzur leshoni mera usvatai medaber mirma. My God, guard my tongue from all evil and my lips from spouting lies. May I think before I begin to speak. May my words be gentle and wise. Help me ignore those who wish me ill. Help me be humble before all. Open my heart to your Torah, that I know how to answer your call. Elohai nitzur leshoni mera usvatai midaber mirma. Elohai nitzur leshoni mera usvatai midaber mirma. Ose shalom bimrama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, ve'imru, amen. Ose shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, ve'imru, amen. Ose shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, ve'imru, amen. A prayer for healing linked to this prayer for peace. May the Holy One who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, Jacob, grant blessing and healing to Ron Solomon, Maureen Spiegelman, Carrie Urban, Susan Stearns, Ian Moore, Sandy Schneider, Linda Shaw, Nikki Shaw, David Saltzman, Eileen Salzman, Judy Sherman, Angela Fitzgerald, Edward Cohen, Jeffrey Gerson, Cameron Hopping, Linda Fogel, Betsy Appel, Sandra Burnfield, Terry Noonan, Madeline Snyderman. Other names you can include in the chat or unmute if you prefer. Other names for healing?
Elizabeth Couch, Simon Martin.
Claudia Trevenbeck. Yeah. And those sadly rising numbers here in the United States and around the world who are struggling with COVID-19 and their caregivers and loved ones, may they be granted healing, strength, courage, and hope, and a healing of body and a healing of mind soon and in our time. Venomar, let us say, Amen. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yoshrei Tevel, ve'imru, ve'imru, Amen. All right. How to keep a rabbi's sermon short. Have him do a service outside when the sun is setting, and he won't be able to see his notes, or you won't be able to see the last pages for the prayer. So we'll keep this short. I mentioned early on in the service that we, in the cycle of the year, we have moved into this period of consolation. 7 weeks of recovering from the trauma of Tisha B'Av, and these are marked in our reading cycle by readings mostly from the book of Isaiah, Haftorot of consolation. And this week's Haftarah follows a Torah reading that ends with a Maftir reading that talks about a holiday where you should have Ach Sameach, only joy, right? And given the world is as it is, and life is as it is, and includes suffering and unexpected challenges. So how do we engage a holiday with only joy, right? So Isaiah offers 3, I think, pieces of consolation that perhaps, and then maybe we can invite some other forms of consolation that we're taking as we engage this difficult time together. So the first is that there is an invitation to experience a freedom from fear. This is, of course, easier said than done, but my grandfather used to say that that you add to your troubles with worry. Right? So fear has its place, but when it's taken over, it is adding to the challenge that we face, and not necessarily getting us. We should have enough fear to wear masks in public, to be conscious and cautious around contagions that are very real. That's a fear that should lead to proper behavior. But a fear that is about hypotheticals, what could be, are not necessarily serving us. So Isaiah invites us to step away or step outside of the fear. I think of this saying attributed to Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav that's been put to music. The world is a very narrow bridge, but the essential thing, lo lefached klal, is not to fear at all, which may be a bit ambitious, right? Michael Strassfeld reminds us maybe we should translate it as, don't make fear your klal, your general rule, your operating principle, right? So watch with fear and maybe free ourselves of that. Shabbat is an ideal time to that. The next piece of consolation that Isaiah invites us to reflect on is to remember, imagine both in the past and in the future, a time where no one lacks food or drink or the funds that they need, housing. Those needs are provided for everyone. That's a reality that we can imagine, right? The Garden of Eden, if we have to go back that far, okay. But also in the future, that's a part not just of a dream, right? Imagine in the future that it comes, but it's also a part of our memory, of our story, that we recall that time. That's not just a pipe dream. So freed from fear, enough so we can remember a time of abundance and move from this scarcity mentality to choosing from a place of abundance. And the third is, in recognition of past oppression, to appreciate the freedoms and the liberties that we enjoy. Right? That we mentioned this earlier. We recall the Exodus from Egypt at every service, because it really is upon us to, the grandmothers, the bubbies who always said it always could be worse. It really was. It has been worse, right? It has been worse, and unquestionably, immeasurably so. That perspective of time, of history, can offer some consolation. What else are we turning to or hearing that is offering us some consolation at this time?
Not an abundance of consolation.
Not too much consolation.
We'll get through it. There's
Yeah.
hope.
I'm looking at this sky, which is lit up in this sort of pink and red above us. I don't know if I would point the computer that way, but I'm not sure it would come through. Which is a sign that forests are on fire, right? That places are in danger and homes are in danger just west of us and have been for the week. And it offers this beautiful haze at the same time, that this sort of that there is beauty even in these expressions and this toxicity, right? This pollution, right? That there's something divine there, that we can find beauty in each expression. This week in Musar, in our class we were talking about when not to talk and how to use speech, and we came up with this metaphor related to driving. And we started out with all these lists of rabbinic rules about when you're not supposed to talk and don't speak in front of or before an elder and don't interrupt somebody. And I don't know, were they Jewish? You got to wonder if those rabbis were Jewish, even though interruptions. And people were resisting all these rules. And then we started thinking about the rules of the road, right? Merge with care and thinking about them as an analogy to speech, right? When you enter a conversation, right? Merge with caution. Enter into the lane of traffic, right? With caution. Or when you come to a stop sign, come to a full stop. And how nice would it be if in every conversation the person you were with came to a full stop, or you did, right? When the light turned yellow, you slowed down. Can you imagine that, right? It sounds like there might be something emotional, potent in what you're saying, which could be scary. Well, let's slow down rather than rush through it, move through it, get through the light. So I invite you to join us in that reflection and that analogy, and thinking about, engaging playfully and with reverence, with words. Right? We have these expressions in our day-to-day life, in our car, that maybe we can connect to this spiritual practice, and especially as we head into the holidays. There was we were talking about can you get your record expunged from all your traffic violations? Yes, every year on Yom Kippur. Right? You still have to pay your your town and city violation, but in terms of metaphorically speaking, that's really what Yom Kippur is, an annual sort of get out of your built-up traffic violations free. And then the last one we came up with was the DUI, right? Right. So when to catch ourselves or offer playful citations to one another, if we're dibur under the influence, if we're speaking under the influence of overzealous pride or ignorance or insecurity or a neediness for attention, right? What is influencing our speech in any given moment, and might we offer gentle citations? get pulled over and stop for a moment. So there's a lot daunting about speech and how speech is being used in the public arena, and conspiracy theories, and that just can be exasperating, right, and daunting to watch, especially with its power, as we know, to influence real policy decisions and elections. So this is my invitation, that we engage that practice together with that playful way that might offer us some consolation, given the way speech is being used. All right. We will bring the service to a close with Aleinu, which is on page 121, and then we'll sort of do each of the following pages. And we'll sing this refrain, Ein Od. And if you're able and would like to join me in rising, you're welcome to. Ein Od, Ein Od, Ein Od, Ein Od. Aleinu l'shabeach, Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שנתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם, נטע בתוכנו. אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים מודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד. כך כתוב, next page. תורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, שמו אחד. אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד, אין עוד. So those who are saying Kaddish this evening can remain standing. This Shabbat, we mourn with the families who have had recent losses. Eric Shaw's father, Charlie, Judy's mother, Dorothy Regensteiner, Sandy's cousin, Arnold Cover, Amy's father, Morty Vogel, Amy's sister, Amy Gendler's sister, Sally Gendler, Cindy's mother, May Savage, Howard Sigmund, Miriam Klerman, Susan Goldman, Merrill Roth, and Steve Wolkowitz, and Arthur Bernstein. And the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of passings that I'm aware of: Dorothy Edith Schindler, Helene Leventhal, Patricia Ann Logan, Eleanor Rich, Selma Nevins, and Judith Matizoff-Block. Other names for Kaddish to include?
Colleen Coate.
Colleen Coate. Well, those we've named and those we don't know to name, we honor their memories and we offer this prayer, the Mourner's Kaddish, in affirmation of their lives and legacies. Kaddish Yatom is on page 131. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah. V'yalma divrach Yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach ve'olam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushvechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma, v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru Amen. May the source of wholeness and harmony and nature grant comfort to those in mourning and peace to us, to Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. And may all the baby bears find their way to their mama. And let us say, Amen. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thanks for joining online. It's great to see you. So, a couple of announcements, please feel free to sit. So, on Sunday, well, tomorrow morning we have a model learner's minion. So, a nice interactive learn about the service and do a little bit of prayer for an hour. And then a Torah study hike afterwards, leaving here from the building. So 9:30 for the minyan. There's a 9 o'clock family service, 9:30 for the learner's minyan, and 10:30 for the hike. Did I get that right, Elizabeth? Yes, okay. And then on Sunday we have a sort of, picnic. Yeah, sort of trying to do a safe gathering as a community, where we'll gather at Buchanan, maybe play some softball, which seems to be one of the safer encounters. And there's a sort of kickoff for the religious school program, which is, going to be mostly or almost entirely online. So it'll be an opportunity for us to try to gather together safely as possible on Sunday. A week from today is Rosh Chodesh Elul. There's a custom of blowing the shofar on the first, in the morning during the whole month of Elul, the whole lunar month. And so on Friday morning I do a morning music and meditation. So we're going to add a shofar blowing to that gathering. So we'll have at least weekly, there'll be an opportunity to hear the shofar over the course of the month as we head into the high holidays. And next week, and as the sun goes down, we're going to try a Beatles Shabbat service. So please do gather. We'll probably do that inside. And what else? We got on September 12th, there's a Colorado-wide Slichot service. Like all the congregations, or most of the congregations in the Front Range, are going to do a joint Slichot service that goes from 7 p.m. till midnight on Saturday night. It's the Saturday night prior to Rosh Hashanah. So you may want to mark your calendar for that. There'll be speakers and music and service and shofar blowing as well. And high holiday registration is up on the website, so you can sign up for an honor, but there are limited places in terms of we're going to try to fit at least 25 people safely out here for an early service, and then inside another 25 people so we can maximize. So you might want to pick your favorite service and get signed up so that you have a place to be if you want to join us in person for those. But we'll have 13 services over the course of the holidays, so hopefully you'll find one that you can attend in person if you want. Any other announcements, Elizabeth? Anything I missed? Or anyone else online? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Have a great Shabbat. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow morning or Sunday afternoon for the gathering with softball. Shabbat.